Alright guys, so in this video, basically what I wanted to break down was the difference between arguing, pointless argument, and heated debates. Basically, when you watch my team scrim, or if you watch any of the past teams I've been on, you'll see that whenever something goes wrong, whenever we lose a map, I kind of sit there and try to point out the reasons as to why we lost. So what mistakes were made? Why did this certain player not play up to his potential? Basically, why we lost. And the thing about it is that a lot of people kind of just see this as pointing fingers and arguing, and it just ruins teams. But you don't understand. In fact, I know when to kind of argue and when to point out these mistakes and when not to. Pointless arguing would be mid game. Whenever you're mid game, your goal is to never, ever, ever, ever point fingers or blame anybody on certain plays. So let's say somebody gets turned on, or somebody pushes something and chokes a kill, or they make a wrong decision, right? You never ever say, dude, what are you doing? You could have done that. Dude, are you serious? How'd you miss that? What is wrong with you? God, come on, step it up. You don't say that. You always want to be positive in game. And that's what separates good players from bad players, or the mentality thing. That's what separates winners from losers. If you're the type of player that sits there and blames your teammates, or just becomes extremely negative mid-game, mid-search and destroy, mid-CTF, mid-hardpoint, you're not going to be successful in this game. Call of Duty is a game all about mentality, working well with your team, and just gelling together really well. And the way you do that is with positivity, especially in game. Even if you're down by 50, even if you're down by 4 rounds, 3 rounds, you stick to the plan. You go as hard as you can until it is over. You do not give up. That is the difference between a winner and a loser. A heated argument, which many people mistake for arguing, is actually when after the game is done and you lose, you sit there and you try to find out why you lost. And the thing is, a lot of the time, two players will have different perspectives as to why they lost. Or one player will be like, you could have done this better. And then the other player will be like, I couldn't have done anything in that situation. I did the best play I could. Or I didn't know, blah, blah, blah. And once you get in that heated argument, all it really is two players that are extremely passionate about the game. Two players that want to win, to the extreme. So they sit there and they try to figure out why they made these mistakes. One player, the thing about it is that both players actually are right. This might seem weird, but the reason I say that both players are right is because when I'm sitting here throwing out my ideas and telling you what we could have done better, what you could have done better, and you're throwing ideas at me saying, I could have done this, you could have done this, blah, 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 it actually makes your team better because you're throwing out so many ideas at once, they all get stuck in your head. So whenever you get put into situations like that again, you actually start thinking of all these scenarios at once, and you kind of mesh it together and try to make the better decision. So the thing that you gotta understand is every time you lose, if you go back and have these debates, these arguments with your team, even though it might sound like arguing when you're watching a stream or something, if you see myself or Adam saying, I could have done this, dude, you could have done this, oh, you made a bad play here, that's not arguing at all. Arguing would be like, dude, are you serious? You're an idiot. What are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you making that play? You suck. Blah, blah. And then you get personal. That's even worse. Heated debates after games are okay. And the thing is, from a stream viewer's point of view, or even if you're a young mind, you don't understand that. You see that's two people talking to each other in high tones and really aggressive as arguing. It's not at all. It's just two players that are extremely passionate and they want to win, so they try to figure out why they lost. And if they find out the reason why they lost, they try to jam that idea into the other player's head or the other group's head, why they lost and what they should do better, so it never happens again. Basically, whenever you make a mistake, whenever you find the mistake, you find ways to fix it and minimize the chances of it happening again. So if I sit there and I tell you, okay, next time don't hesitate. If there's a teammate near you, you push it anyways. You always have trust in your teammates. If I say that to you, and you're all like, all right, dude, whatever, man, I got it. You don't got it. Nope. I'm going to sit there and say, you got to do this. You got to do this. You got to do this 100 times before I stop. Because the more I tell you, the more someone tells me their ideas, their reasoning, the more it's going to stick in your head and the less likely you are to make that mistake when it really matters, which is land. Online play should never be played to win unless you're in a tournament, but I mean, even if you lose, you still got to find out why you lost. But if you're playing scrims and you're not playing to make mistakes, if you're playing the safe route, you are not getting better. The team that sits there and makes mistakes and takes risks that some might find crazy are the teams that get better. Because they find out what works, what doesn't work, how many times out of how many times it works. Let's say 50-50 plays, 80-20 plays, 60-40 plays. They find out the percentages of whether certain plays will work. I mean, I don't mean that literally. They don't sit there and calculate percentages, but you know what I mean. Like, if you push something, you kind of like find out, okay, this is going to work sometimes. This is going to work a lot of the time, and this works like every single time, and I've rarely ever been countered. You find those situations. So like I said, heated arguments, heated debates, again, are when two players are extremely passionate about trying to win, so they try to find out why they lost, and when they find that, they find ways to better it. Whenever you heard us arguing, like let's say after that optic match, after that CTF, we sat there and we were like, why didn't we get that flag cap? And then we narrowed it down. Basically, one player decided not to commit to the team, and he hesitated. Instead of risking, basically you got to minimize your risk. Instead of risking getting maybe two-pieced and then capping it, he decided to sit there and play safe and hope that they killed him out, but then he got squashed, he got pinched, and you don't want to do that. If you have a 3 versus 1, I'd rather sit there and see all 3 guys blindly rush this one guy, and if every single person puts bullets into him, any sort of bullets, he's going to die and you're going to get the flag cap. Certain situations like that. So once you narrow it down, you find ways to fix it. You find ways to, like, basically make those situations not happen as much. So, I mean, really, I can't really think of anything else to say. That's really the difference between a heated debate, a heated argument, and a pointless argument that happens mid-game and just brings down the team. It's all negative. That's why myself and Killer were so successful. We did do a lot of pointless arguing, but from what I can see, Killer's changed a lot. His mindset is extremely positive. And honestly, I'm so excited because if anyone was being negative today, it was me. But I wasn't even being negative. I was just like trying to find out what was wrong, why we lost certain situations and stuff like that. But really, that's all it is, man. If you sit there and you talk it over and you just find out why you lost, even if it's heated, the more ideas that are getting put on the table, the more reasons that are getting put on the table, the better it is for your team, because it's all going to get stuck in your head. These arguments that we have, I like remember like every situation that has ever happened where we argued. And why does that make you a better player? Because I'm less likely to make any certain mistakes like that. Let's say I push something at 20 seconds, 15 seconds, and I shouldn't have. I mean, sometimes that's a 50-50 play. You can either break it, and if you don't break it, you get a shit spawn. If you break it, good for you. You got 20 seconds for your team. But why do that when you can just rotate over with your team, commit with your team, set up, and your chances of holding a hill for 60 seconds are higher because you set up early. Like, that's all Call of Duty is minimizing the amount of mistakes you can possibly make. And then there's those unavoidable situations where you can't help certain plays. But the idea about Call of Duty is that you want to minimize those plays. You want to minimize the 50-50 plays, and you want to turn everything into 60-40s or 80-20 favors in your favor. And not to be cocky, but honestly, I think that's why I've been so successful in this game, is because whenever I get on a team, I sit there and I point out mistakes, and I don't let them slide, because if you let them slide, that's going to make your team worse. Like, if somebody makes a mistake, you find it, you call them out on it, and you fix it that moment. You don't let it slip, because if you let it slip, it's going to happen again and again and again. And then you're going to get to the event, and it's going to happen again, it's going to bite you in the ass, and you're going to wonder, why did we lose? It's because you're not having these discussions, you're not having these arguments, you're letting every play slide. No one is the best player in the game. There's no such thing as a best player in the game. Everyone makes mistakes, period. There's no best player in the terms of skill. There's best players in terms of attitude and willingness to win. And that's honestly why I think I've been so successful and my team was successful at the beginning, because all we did was want to win. And whenever we found mistakes, we found them, we fixed them, and we went to the event with huge amounts of confidence and never argued at the event. Ever. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and go. Those are basically my opinions. If you don't agree with them, I'm sorry. But honestly, I think that's the difference between heated arguments, debates, and pointless arguing. I can sit here and get as mad as I want, but as long as I'm getting a valid point across and my teammates putting some valid effort as well, you're getting better, you're learning these situations, and you're learning to minimize these mistakes. So, I'm going to go ahead and go. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and you guys, yeah. See you guys later. Peace.